Tonight, Alabama and Georgia. National championship. It's not like we haven't seen that, but also just recently saw the SEC championship game. Vice President of Editorial and Senior Writer for On3.com, longtime college football and writer Ivan Maisel join us, Sikkim 365 Radio. Ivan, thank you very, very much. I think everyone kind of thought at some point this is the game we would get, although Michigan appeared to be someone that was more than capable. Your thoughts about where we are and how much could Georgia learn from what happened to them when Alabama just ran right through that pretty good defense a month ago?
Well, David, you hope they learned a lot, right? I mean, because otherwise, they will be made quick work of again. And yeah, I have to think they will. I mean, the big question will be: do they let Jamison Williams run behind them, and if they take him away, can Alabama run against the defense that didn't let too many people run? So it's going to be interesting.
Is there a lot of pressure on Kirby Smart to actually get this done, given that it's been 41 years since Georgia's done this, and here they are, and unfortunately they're staring down the belly of the beast with Alabama?
Well, of course, and certainly it's something that all of us have taken note of. But I think all of that pales before the pressure he's putting on himself, which, frankly, and I think he would admit it, is part of the reason that Georgia has not played well against Alabama. I think it's so important to him not only to win the big game, but to win the big game over Alabama, that I think he's just gotten in his own way.
Ivan, we talked a lot about what this would mean for Georgia, the 40-year drought and all that. Bama's won a bunch of titles under Saban, but what would this mean for Alabama, and would it just mean more of a stamp on the greatest run we've ever seen in college football history?
Yeah, I mean, it would truly be remarkable. He would become the second coach to win a national title in his 70s, joining Bobby Bowden. I don't know what other – I'm sure there's some other superlatives, but, for me, the fact that it would be his 8th national championship is remarkable, in 7th in 15 years at Alabama. I mean, that's – if you win it almost every other year, that's – certainly in college athletics, we hadn't seen anything like that since John Wooden, which was a long time ago.
You brought that up, and we just mentioned, USC's now been in a pretty good drought. Texas 05, Nebraska 1997, Georgia 1980, and we all love college football, but this is unprecedented. There's no doubt it's like the 1960s and 70s UCLA. Is this, you know all about the push for more playoff teams or whatever. Is it going to change who we get in the end, or is it just going to maybe create the possibility of one or two Cinderella stories?
Well, the commissioners met for 3 days here today and came away with no decision whatsoever about a playoff. They can't agree. Mm-hmm. And, and they need unanimity right now in order to break the current contract, which has 4 more years to run. So if we don't get more teams in the playoff, we're going to get more of the same, which is dominance by the SEC. And look, David, I mean, we got 4 teams now, and there's a distinct difference between number 2 and number 3. So I don't know that's not going to improve when we go to 12 teams. What we'll get is a lot like what we see in March. We may get a great game between 5 and 12, or between 3 and 6, but I think at the end it's still going to be, a very small number of teams that can win a national championship.
Do you think that some of the things that, say, like Jim Phillips is holding out for, which is automatic qualifiers for the Power 5 and all that, are kind of just him wanting to have more control in this than he may actually have? Because based on the situation, when would the P5 not automatically be in it by winning it? I don't understand what they're holding out for.
Yeah, I don't either. And if the concern is I think the option that was presented originally was the highest ranked conference champions. I think it was the sixth highest ranked conference champions. If he's concerned that two other conference champions would finish ahead of his, then that they need to work to make their get better football. I mean, it's not that hard. I don't know why he thinks that would be a good solution for everybody.
You wrote a story about Bryce Young and what he is, the man of the moment, and what he's done in such a short amount of time. What did you learn the most about him in your story?
Well, that's I've written more than one about him. David, he is an unusually mature 20-year-old, and I said that briefly in today's story. I said it at great length in a story last month, and there's just the coaches at Alabama, everybody that's come across this kid just can't get over the fact that he doesn't get rattled. And if you watch him play, there's a sense of calm about him, even when the pocket is collapsing, even when he's being chased. He just never looks like he's hurrying. And that's a remarkable gift that very few athletes have.
Ivan, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Enjoy the game. National championship,
okay.
Georgia, Alabama. Appreciate your time.
Anytime, David. Thanks.
Ivan Maisel on 3.com with us. We had a chance to have Ivan on back during Big 12 Media Days, which, of course, is right before college football's landscape changed again with the Texas OU SEC story. And on 3.com has grown and done a great job. And nice to have Ivan, who's been covering the game for decades.
Yeah, it's just disappointing to hear how much tired head he gets in his voice, like everybody else, when talking about the playoff and the playoff, discussions that turn inevitably into them parting ways with absolutely nothing getting done, and everybody just still sitting in their corners with their way that they want this thing to be done. So, yeah, it looks like we're going to be sitting with the 14 playoff for at least the next handful of years until that contract runs out. Of course, something could always change that. But right now, it seems like there's a bit of a stalemate. And, I saw a bunch of reporters talking about it yesterday as all these guys were leaving these meetings. And it's more the same that we've seen over and over again whenever these meetings have taken place. Like a bunch of talk and no result other than the one that we already had going in. So, it's interesting to see all the different viewpoints and what's holding up who versus what's holding up some other party, and why they all know, like, hey, yeah, we probably need to do something, but they just continue to walk away from the table without having anything done. So as long as that continues, we're going to have the 4 teams, and there's certainly a party that believes that, well, what's the big deal? I mean, so what? We'll see a 5 versus 12. Still going to be the same result, and that's the attitude of some people. That's not necessarily mine, but that is the attitude of some, and that's one of the attitudes that's preventing any expansion. But hey, there's people that believe that 4 is the right number and that it doesn't need to expand. So it depends on what line you're in. But disappointing that they can't all get on the same page.
We got to break in another segment before 4. Okay, Tim Brando joins us today at 4. Armstrong, when we come back in the next segment, I sent you a note, I think I did, about the FCS championships. North Dakota State won another one. We'll come back. I don't know if that graphic is something I sent you or not, but a note about that. The expanded playoffs in the FCS still leads to the same answers almost every year, but this past weekend, the number 8 seed played for a national title. Still lost to the 800-pound gorilla. Sick on 365 Radio and 365 Sports.